So I most likely would not be sitting in front of a camera today and speaking to all of you if I did not become enthralled with German watchmaking. At the time of getting into watches, I just became so interested in the design, the utility, and the manufacturing prowess of this nation. And in the early days of collecting, it was a huge part for my interest in the hobby. And at the core of that curiosity was a brand that's just over 3 decades old now, has developed one of the most recognizable design styles in watchmaking, as well as producing some of the most in-house watches in all the world, not just in Germany. So who am I referring to? None other than NOMOS Glashu, arguably the most underestimated brand in all of watchmaking. And in this video, we're gonna go through what you need to know to understand and appreciate this brand more thoroughly, while also going through and giving you a framework of the things to consider when you're looking to buy a watch from this brand. So this discussion is going to be broken down with 4 different parts. Part 1 is the NOMOS backstory and their significance. Part 2 is going to be made up of the different model families and major points for each of those model families. Part 3 is why to get a NOMOS or why not to get a NOMOS. And then finally, part 4 is going to be my top picks from their catalog based on category. So in order to properly tell the story of NOMOS, you must understand the small city it calls home. So Glashu, Germany has ultimately been known as a watchmaking power for well over a century, with turbulent ups and downs happening throughout the years. The origins of this blue-collar town in Saxony started first developing a reputation as a mining town until the mid-19th century, when there was a shift in commercial interest. A group of like-minded individuals began taking the lead in developing a burgeoning watchmaking industry in the town. By the turn of the 20th century, Glashu became recognized well beyond its country's borders as some of the finest makers of watches on the planet. Following World War II, Glashu was left in disarray, with Soviet occupation taking over the region. During this transition, much of the existing watchmaking industry was consolidated into a singular watchmaking entity known as the GUB. This persisted for decades until a significant shift occurred with the fall of the Berlin Wall in late 1989. From this moment, we would see a resurgence of watchmaking brought back to the town in the 1990s, including names like A. Lange and Söhne being revived by the great-grandson of Ferdinand Adolf Lange, one of the founders of the region for watchmaking in 1845, and Glashu Original proceeding forward as the direct descendant of the surviving industry through the GUB. Yet one of the most critical players that began Glashu's return was a small upstart brand announced just months after the fall of the Berlin Wall in 1990. Following the trademarking of the name NOMOS Glashu SA by founder Roland Schwartner, the brand released its first series of watches. Now, there are many characteristics that people consider when looking at NOMOS watches. Perhaps the first thing is going to be their design identity, which is informed by the Deutsche Werkbund, a precursor to the Bauhaus school of design. In this design spirit, NOMOS watches are developed with a modern, sleek aesthetic, as opposed to the overly romantic designs of many other Glashu brands. But beyond this design formula, the crucial aspect to understand about NOMOS, and this is when I'm getting into this idea about NOMOS being underappreciated and also maybe being underestimated in what they're capable of, is the fact that NOMOS is a manufacturer. Now, up until 2005, NOMOS was using a Bosch calibers in their watches sourced from Switzerland. However, as a result of being cut off from caliber suppliers given the growing size of NOMOS, the brand needed to figure out how to sustain their production process. See, another problem that comes with this is putting Glashu on your dial is not just something anybody can do. As to hit this standard of being able to do this, 50% of the quote essential manufacturing stages must occur in Glashu. So NOMOS spent millions of dollars to develop their own in-house movements, with their first step being the Alpha Manual. The Alpha Manual is a caliber that is produced and finished within NOMOS's facilities that mirrors the architecture of the Pazoo 7001. This attractive manual wound caliber makes its appearance in many of the entry-level options from the brand to this day, and this caliber's success was just the starting point to see a run of different calibers in production that now totals 10 within the brand's portfolio in just 2 decades, and even includes production of their own escapement, known as the Swing System, that was introduced in 2014. What is also an interesting aspect of NOMOS is that as a collector, you often have the choice of determining if you want a solid case back or a sapphire exhibition version for an upcharge to see those beautiful calibers. So if you've watched my video where I have discussed the levels of watchmaking, you're probably familiar with that term manufacturer. But if you haven't watched that video, I definitely recommend checking it out. It'll allow you to have a better understanding of when I'm giving NOMOS some kudos here. Now, to be labeled a manufacturer, you are a company that produces the majority of your components in-house, and that even includes small pieces like bridges, screws, wheels, etc. NOMOS is one of the most impressive manufacturing companies that you're going to come across, having 3 separate operating facilities in Glashütte, including their manufacturing facility where they are going to be producing some of these smaller components to be featured in their in-house calibers. They also have a watchmaking atelier on the hill where watches are fully assembled. And then they have their corporate offices, which reside within the old train station, which is directly across the street from other brands like Lange and Glashütte Ringenau, with NOMOS's design studio being in the center of those lively streets of Berlin. This all leads to NOMOS producing 95% of the value of their watches just in Glashütte, nearly doubling the Glashütte standard of 50%. So I spent an entire week living in Glashütte. There's no hotels in Glashütte, but I did stay there for an entire week. There's nothing really going on except watchmaking, but I was able to tour all of these different facilities, see firsthand how NOMOS watches are created, and I was able to record basically all of this. NOMOS is incredibly transparent about their process, and if you're interested in this brand, I think that video is crucial viewing. And despite NOMOS being this vertically integrated manufacturer, they're also the largest mechanical watch producer annually out of Germany. Pretty impressive feat for a brand that has just been around for 35 years. So now let's transition to part 2 of this video to discuss the different watches that make up the brand's catalog. And for those that want to follow along and then also shop for some NOMOS watches, we are an authorized dealer of NOMOS. I have hand curated our entire collection. I absolutely love this brand. So if you are interested in checking these out, hit the link in the description down below. Any purchase from our website helps produce content like this. Selling watches is how we're able to continue to do what we do on this channel. The brands don't pay us a dime to do this. So if you are in the market for a watch, we'd absolutely love to have your business. First up is the watch, which is considered the signature model for NOMOS, the Tangente. It was the first NOMOS product that was launched and has been an established vehicle of their design, and has also been one of the best-selling NOMOS models for over 30 years. The round case features the trademark long, thin lugs that angle downward, along with the Bauhaus-influenced numerals for even hours. The straight-sided cases are also thin, whether the movement is hand-wound or a Minimatik. The collection includes a variety of case sizes in the traditional small second form with differing colors. This collection is also commonly used for historical tributes given the significance to the brand, including the Minimatik update with its periphery date and the 175-year watchmaking tribute last year, which included 31 distinct colorful takes quickly selling out. The collection begins with the 2-hand duo models at $1,440, going up from there to over $10,000 for the gold case variants. Now, where I started my collecting journey with NOMOS, and actually have the watch on my wrist right now, was the NOMOS Orion. The Orion, like the Tangente, is known for its slim profile, but instead of printed numerals, it opts for applied linear markings on the dial, also being available in a variety of configurations and sizes. Another key distinction of the Orion is the pebble-like case profile with curved sides and long tapered lugs. You can choose the Alpha manual or Minimatik automatic calibers across the collection. Most models feature a small seconds display with a concentric circle pattern above 6, combining subtle uses of color to enhance the attractively positioned package. Sizes range from just under 33mm to 41mm, and prices start at $1,600 for the manual time-only Orion 33 Duo, up to $4,200 for the Orion Minimatik 41mm date. The third of the dress-oriented trio from NOMOS is the Ludwig. The Ludwig differentiates from the former 2 models by way of differing the lug profiles and a dial that calls upon further classicism through Roman numerals. The bulk of the Ludwig's lineup is quite reserved, with most models receiving white dials, black markings, and tempered blue hands. A range of sizes and movements are available, from $1,380 for the time-only Ludwig 33 Duo, which features the more compact Alpha 2 movement, and rising up to $4,000 for the Ludwig Minimatik 41 date. Now moving along to a common brand entry point for enthusiasts, we have the Club series, which consists of 4 different pillars of the design. You have the traditional club, the Club Campus, the Club Automatic Date, and then also the Club Sport. Across all of these different variations, they are some of the most aquatically capable watches Nomos makes, with 100 meters being the starting point, and then incorporates a playful nonchalance with the design. The core club is defined by its mix of linear and numeric hour markings with interlacing of orange accents to the theme. The Club Campus is a collection that hints at the fact that these are often entry points to the brand, as well as just finer watchmaking in general, with the uses of the solid case backs being a common surface for marking a milestone like graduations. The Club Campus also is one of the rare instances of the use of a California-style dial, meaning it mixes Roman and Arabic numerals with the markers, with the arrangement here being classified more as a reverse California, given the Romans sitting at the lower portion rather than the upper portion of the dial. Further, the Club Campus offers the widest variety of dial color options within a single family from the brand, which is especially noteworthy given that they are positioned more at that starting price for the company at $1,500. Both the Club and the Club Campus have the aforementioned 100 meters of water resistance, are Superluminova equipped, and have alpha manuals powering the package. From there, you also have the Club Automatic, which jumps the price and the water resistance to 200 meters, mirroring the color of aquatics with some blue tones. And then finally, the Club Sport series being one of the most capable watches within the entire catalog, with broad lugs and a wide assortment of bright dial colors to choose from, Superluminova handsets, and different case sizes to go along with it, with water resistance peaking out at 300 meters for the larger 42mm date version. Now, the Club is not the only sport-leaning watch from Nomos. You also have the Ahoi, a go-anywhere, do-anything take on the classic Bauhaus looks, boasting 200 meters of water resistance and often striking colors. Available in 36 and 38.5mm sizes, the Ahoi keeps those stylized numerals on the dial, as well as those long, thin lugs that are part of the Nomos design aesthetic. Both sizes get neomatic movements in small seconds, with the 38.5mm version adding a date window at 3. The cost of entry for the Ahoi starts at $3,860 for the 36mm Ahoi Neomatic Atlantic, rising up to $4,320 for the Ahoi Neomatic 38 date. One of the most daring designs from Nomos is the Autobahn. Now, the watch's playful looks are matched with a sophisticated caliber, the automatic DUW 6101, sporting a height of just 3.6 millimeters for that caliber. Being appropriately named, the dial looks like it belongs on the dash of a German sports sedan, with its dished edge and recessed small seconds. Bold curved blocks of lume dominate the dial, making for an unbelievable showcase of shine with the lights off, along with a quirky 3-lane date window at 6. It's water resistant to 100 meters too, and offers a gorgeous view of the movement on the reverse. 3 colorways are the only options here, with each Autobahn Neomatic 41 date variant clocking in at $4,800 retail. The Metro is one of my favorite collections from Nomos, known for its contemporary touches throughout its design. Offered in a wide range of case sizes, dial configurations, and movements, the award-winning design for the Metro features a clean, straight-sided round case with wired lugs and the precise knurling on the crown. The dial measures the minutes with dots instead of linear hash marks, with numerical 5-minute markings and syringe hands. One of the most loved references and watches that I talk about a lot when speaking to Nomos is the Metro Date Power Reserve. This watch gets a 6 o'clock date, small seconds, and the distinctive Nomos Power Reserve display, which incorporates colorized wheels beneath the dial that work in tandem to indicate the remaining reserve within that mainspring. There are 12 different Metro models to choose from, with the point of entry being the Metro 33 at $2,030 to be precise, and topping out at $10,920 for the Metro Rose Gold Neomatic 39. Another one of Nomos's daring designs is the Tetra, a sharp left turn for the brand that proves that they probably get down to Huey Lewis in the news. The square case Tetra is incredibly thin for a mechanical watch, and its step lugs allow for the strap to be made smaller. Despite the stylings of this case, all the classic Nomos cues are present, including the distinctive numerals, the small seconds display, and an assortment of striking dial colors. Retail prices start at $1,660 for the Tetra 26 Duo model, climbing up to $3,980 for the Tetra Neomatic 39 Silver Cut. The Minimatik is tied as the leanest of the NOMOS collections with 3 total watches to choose from. They infuse lighthearted themes with reserve cases with a size of 35.5 millimeters. It's the watch that introduced the in-house caliber DUW 3001, a slim automatic movement with gorgeous finishing for the price. Now the front of the watch is equally beautiful with rounded stick hands, dotted minute markers, with the curviness continuing to the hour numerals. The case silhouette is heavily tapered at the lug ends with a broad dial opening, making for the smaller case to feel larger. Of the 3 models available, they start at $3,680 for the silver-plated white dial version and $3,800 for the champagne and midnight blue variants. The Tangomat takes the style of the Tangente and amps up for larger wrists while serving as the first automatic watch presented by the brand. The 38.3mm versions feature those familiar numerals and small seconds displays with or without a date at 6, and the 40mm GMT design features apertures at 3 and 9 displaying the 24-hour GMT and the city airport code respectively. The standard Tangomat retails for $2,980, while the Tangomat GMT is priced at $4,920. The Zurich is a masterclass in understatement, combining elegant design with complex mechanics. The 4 variants that make up the collection feature automatic movements, but above the 3-hander and the date versions, you'll find one of the most impressive models in the entire NOMOS catalog, the Zurich World Time. This watch uses the 5201 GMT movement to incorporate world time functionality. The 24-hour disc at 3 above the keyless work shows the home time, with the press of the more prominent button on the side of the case changing the surrounding cities, while the small recess pusher on the opposite side of the case helps with the independent adjustment of the local hours. Prices begin at $4,180 for the standard 3-hand Zurichs, rising to $6,100 for the Zurich World Time. The final 2 collections are where NOMOS is going to flex their watchmaking muscles, being of more of that high horology tier, meaning upping the finishing on the individual component level with bespoke techniques, utilizing precious metals and representing a part of their lineup I don't think gets enough appreciation, and I want to just talk about this for a moment. I don't think there is a single brand that I can think of that has an entry-level point that is as accessible as NOMOS in price, while also operating as a manufacturer, and then is willing to scale up to high horology and stick the landing in the process. Just bringing that up before I talk about these next 2 different collections. First of the 2 is the Lux series, recognizable with their tonneau cases rendered in solid rose or white gold. The wired lug cases show up in 2 different sizes, with the rose gold measuring at 34mm by 38.5mm, and the white gold checking in at 36mm by 40.5mm. A rounded dial display sits within a barrel shape for a distinguished look, kept clean with only hours, minutes, and small seconds displayed against the most minimal of dial markings. The sharp-eyed design connoisseur will notice the dial's inspiration as a classic German kitchen clock, but what's around the back is even more surprising. The caliber that's shaped to fit within the case is the 2002 movement, and it is a visual riot of German decoration, especially for NOMOS' typical standard. With a hand-engraved balance cock, hand-beveled and polished edges, fine sunbeam polishing on the 3/4 plate, you have gold chitons and heat-blued screws with polished sinks. And beyond all the looks, it offers 84 hours of power reserve. All this doesn't come cheap, with the rose gold Lux priced at $19,500 and the white gold at $21,500. Finally, the Lambda presents another spectacular display of some of Glashu's finest watchmaking craft. 2 case sizes are offered. You have a 39mm and a 42mm, being precious metal only in either rose or white gold. The dial is rendered as delicate as a pencil sketch, with a large diameter as the page on which it is drawn. Remarkably thin hands count the hours, minutes, and seconds, with one more add-on twist, an elegant 84-hour power reserve display at 12. The hand-wound DUW 1001 caliber features twin mainspring barrels like the Lux, and the prices start at $17,000 for the Lambda 39, climbing up to $20,000 for the white gold 42mm Lambda. So we've looked at the backstory of NOMOS as a brand. We ran through every single collection the brand has on offer. Now let's answer the question, why or why not buy a NOMOS? And we'll start with the latter of the 2. So the first point that comes to mind that might lead to NOMOS not being right for you is that NOMOS in its design approach seems to be very much a love it or hate it idea. Now, generally speaking, having a core design code is a good thing, but if you're somebody that's looking at one collection from NOMOS and another, that overarching theme of what the brand is in its design is going to be felt throughout. So if you don't like the look of a NOMOS watch in one collection, chances are you're going to see elements of that in other collections. Further, NOMOS is firm in doing styles of watches in their own way. So those who want traditional sports watches with an external bezel and a more brutalist approach to design, NOMOS is likely not going to be for you. Their sports models, although capable, contrast from some of the overly constructed tools that can often be found interwoven into German watch design, with minimal bracelet options compared to other names as well. Then finally, NOMOS watches do wear uniquely with their distinctive case silhouettes and long lugs. As a caveat to this point, I do think the being too large for my wrist crowd surrounding NOMOS is more internet watch banter that includes a lot of people that have never actually tried on NOMOS watches personally. However, that unique wear with a lack of global distribution compared to more prominent names makes it a bit more difficult to know if you were going to be viable for a NOMOS watch given your preferences. But now we shift to the why, and to start here, let's begin with one word: manufacturer. The success story of NOMOS over the last 30 years has been impressive. They have gone from an upstart to the largest producer of mechanical watches in Germany. Further, they have done it by paving their own path of developing in-house capabilities and manufacturing methods, with little reliance on any third-party providers. Beyond this, NOMOS continues to be an independent brand, not falling underneath a broader group structure, making for a homegrown attitude despite the serious operation that they have, while also being a leading contributor to reviving an entire region's watchmaking. You also can see these personal touches within their movements. For example, there are just 2 people at the company that are doing the snailing on the ratchet and crown wheels, which is an amazing little factoid when you consider that the starting price for those watches that are gonna feature this are gonna be in watches under $2,000. Further, as much as there's going to be collectors that will not appreciate the NOMOS design stance, you can't get around the fact that NOMOS has achieved one of the most recognizable aesthetics in watchmaking that will land with just as many people as it misses. Design preference is subjective, but design isn't devoid of objective measurement. NOMOS watches are thoughtfully configured any way you slice it, with novel ways of navigating common complication types. And then finally, NOMOS delivers some pretty remarkable value for money with its more industrialized products that start just over $1,000, with few price changes taking place, and then can scale up to high horology concepts. As I mentioned, there's not another brand I can think of in watchmaking with this level of range and capability. Brands that produce $1,500 to $5,000 products rarely venture beyond that. NOMOS, on the other hand, does, and in doing so comes off as a brand that's not trying to abandon what they do best, but instead shows what they are capable of as arguably the most underestimated brand in the entire industry. And then for part 4, just gonna be going quickly through the catalog, some of the recommendations I have as someone who's worn every single watch from NOMOS over the years. And if you're looking at a specific style, what would be the watch that I would recommend to first look at? This is not to say that these are the only watches to look at, but just my personal preference on things. First, the best sports watch. Sports watch is not something that NOMOS is commonly known for. At least they have a different way of looking at a sports watch. If I had to pick one, I'd probably go with the Ahoi as a true sports watch as NOMOS presents it. Some people might mention the Club, but that's where we get into this next category. What's the best everyday style watch? And for that, you gotta go with the Club series. The Club series is one of the best points of value in all of watchmaking if you go for the Club or the Club Campus. Under $2,000 for a watch produced in-house like this is unbelievable, especially out of Germany. Also across the board, you're getting at least 100 meters of water resistance with the Club and the Club Campus. And then if you go to the sports series within the Club family, you can get even more water resistance. Now for the best dress watch, I'm gonna go with the Orion. I'm going to match my walk with the talk here. I have always loved the Orion. It was the watch that got me into NOMOS originally, and I just love the contemporary looks of the design. It's non-abrasive and very easy for someone that's not even into watches to appreciate. Whenever I've shown somebody a NOMOS Orion, even if they're not into watches, they always like it. And I think that's a testament to nice design and being tastefully done. For the complication category, I was going back and forth, but I think if I have to pick one, it's gotta be the Metro Power Reserve. I was thinking about the Zurich World Timer, but I think the Metro Power Reserve is so unique with its power reserve indication, how they were able to pull this off. It's a beautiful design. I love the Metro. It's one of my favorites easily from NOMOS. Another category I want to throw in here is the most representative of the brand, or most distinctly NOMOS. This has to be the Tangente. This is the watch that started it all. The numerals that were put on this watch help define the brand going forward. And you see this design throughout the rest of the entire catalog for NOMOS. So this is as representative of NOMOS. If you had to make like a wall clock for NOMOS, this would be the one. And then just as a catch-all wild card, like what's a crazy watch that's interesting, different, and no other brand really has done anything exactly like it, but it's also very much NOMOS, that has to be the Autobahn. It's crazy with its looks, and I can't say I've seen it anywhere else. It's distinctive, playful, and as much as it's maybe something at first look you might not like, as you start to learn more about it, handle it, you begin to appreciate it a lot more. But all right, guys, that is my video here today looking at what to know before buying a NOMOS Glashu. As you can tell, very passionate about this brand. It was probably one of the largest contributors to my development of love for watchmaking. First, it was the design of their pieces that I loved, but then learning more about them, their story, and how they were able to develop this independence as a manufacturer, you begin to recognize they're one of the most interesting stories in the past 30 years of watchmaking, and a brand that deserves a lot more kudos than I think many people give. They look at this brand on the surface, but as you start to learn more, you see that there is way more beyond just the design and the superficial elements of what many people consider for this brand. But if you enjoyed this video and you learned something new, you found it helpful, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, hit the bell icon. Really do appreciate that. If you want us to do more of these style of videos for other brands, let me know what brand you'd like us to do next in the comments. Also check out teddyballister.com. Teddyballister.com is an authorized dealer for over 35 brands, including NOMOS Glashu. Each purchase from teddyballister.com comes with quick and fast fulfillment, dedicated customer support, and a full factory warranty for all the products that we offer. Also, if you have any questions about watches that we have for sale, feel free to reach out to our team on live chat. That little bubble in the bottom corner of the website, that's a live person there. That is not AI for you. You can reach out. They're watch enthusiasts, happy to help you out with any question for a watch we have for sale on our website. Also, how we're able to keep doing what we're doing here. We don't have the brands pay us to make any of the content on all of our platforms. How we're able to keep going is through selling watches. That's our business model. So if you want to support us and you are in the market for a watch, we'd absolutely love to have your business. Allow us to keep doing what we're doing here. We love what we do. But guys, thank you again so much for watching. Be well, and I'll see you all very soon.